Howdy, folks. Happy Tuesday. We have a couple games to discuss, some news, some signing news, a trade, some general stuff in the NHL, but we have pre-show stuff. So, Russ, take it away.
Yeah, so last night, Marty Baron was watching the Coyotes game, and he brought up an interesting thing on Twitter, an observation that got a lot of response. So the first thing he said was the average shift in the NHL should be about 45 seconds. Arizona had 5 guys on the ice for almost 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, no, they could not get the puck out of the zone. Every time they tried, and then they iced it, and that was the only respite that they had. And the Sabres were able to switch off people. They just simply every puck battle for that 3.5 minutes they lost every single one.
Yeah, so Mike Ross, who I'm friends with, the in-game voice for the Maple Leafs, asked Marty what it should be for a beer league. Then, and things, spiraled from there.
Downward, I'm assuming.
Huh?
Downward, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Ray Ferraro said it looked like a public skating session until the last 30 or 45 seconds. Everyone's skating around with no attack at the net. Worst OT I've seen in a long while. What I take out of it is I don't think they've practiced it much.
Well, I'll say this because I'll save it for the game, but that was like one of the very few moments in the last 2/3 of that game that Buffalo had possession that continued.
Yeah.
Arizona was a possession monster yesterday. They won most of the puck battles. I mean, they're not
an entertaining game though. I watched a fair amount of it.
Yeah, and I was at the game, and it was boring at times in the middle, but it got really good, and the overtime was phenomenal. But we'll talk about that in a second. I have to just touch on the Game 6 of the World Series coming up tonight. The Astros, if they win. And it's Verlander, who's 0-5 in the World Series, so I hope I'm jinxing, against Strasburg. And if they win, they'll be the first team since the 96 Yankees to come back from 2-0 at home, losing the first 2 at home, and then winning the next 4. It does, and this is not likely, but it does have the possibility if Washington wins and forces a Game 7 to be, if Washington comes back and wins the series, to be a series where every road team won, which would be, I think there was a Stanley Cup final like that, wasn't there, Russ?
There was. Yeah, there was a Stanley Cup final like that.
Yeah. But that would be, I mean, I'm not expecting it. I mean, right now, like I think you said yesterday, I don't know if it was on the air or during a conversation we had, but he's like, Washington is resorting back to their sort of choke history.
Yeah, but I will tell you this, and I brought this up, and I believed it to be true, and now I'm double checking it, and it is true. So the Mets were down 0-2.
Okay.
With their home games. Boston beat them 1-0 and 9-3, but then the Mets won 2 out of the next 3.
Right.
They lost all 3, so that's what makes you think it's more of a choke.
Yeah, and then a couple days ago was the anniversary of the of Game 6 and Mookie's ground ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm sure. See, that type of thing, the sting of that now for Boston is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've won 4 World Series since then.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's captain. Now it's –
if anything, it's like a curse for the Mets, right? Because it's like they can't win it since.
Right. And, the Mets still have not found their new manager – in spite of other
the search is funny because it's gotten ludicrous. They've interviewed a bunch of people twice. It's like, who else haven't they interviewed that they can't make a decision?
Well, I'll give you the theory that was being floated yesterday on one of the New York radio stations is that Brody Van Wagenen, who they call Brody Van Pelinka because he's a former agent like the Lakers GM Rob Pelinka.
Right.
They think it could be AJ Hinch because him and Van Wagenen have a long-standing.
And why is he going to leave?
I don't know, unless he thinks that the challenge of either he thinks the challenge in Houston is no longer there, or they're going to go through some roster changes. They'll lose Cole. Verlander's getting old. I think.
Do they have to lose Cole? Like, is that a guarantee?
No, but he's a California kid, and supposedly, the Angels and the Dodgers will pony up 30 to 35 million. So that's the theory. I mean, it's possible he could re-sign there, but apparently they were of the theory that, like, say Toronto is with Tyson Berry. They trade for the guy, they know he's going to be there a year, and they can't afford to re-sign him.
Right.
Correa's contract, I think, is up after next year. So you're talking about, like, I mean, you can always get pitchers. It's tough to, like, get a shortstop like Correa.
Yeah, we're going to re-sign Correa.
I would think so. They've got tons of money, but there'd be nothing more that I'd like to see than the Astros just crumble. But
they're not crumbling though.
No. I mean,
they lose. Look, they may lose tonight. They'll win the next game after that. They're not crumbling.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I can say in terms of optimism for Washington and for people who hate the Astros is if the Astros lose tonight, it's Greinke in Game 7, and Greinke is well known for being
sure, but they're not getting to Game 7. Washington,
no, I don't think so either.
Washington can't score runs. When are they going to score some runs?
They're going to have to put runners on base and let Soto hit a home run because
that's the only way they're getting runs. Zimmerman is completely washed up. Like Rendon can hit. Rendon makes some plays, but that's another guy who's 1 foot out the door. I just don't see it.
Yeah. All right, let's get started. Actually, joining us any minute. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, 2019.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. I have a weird feeling today is the anniversary of the stock market crash. I think it was.
Why do you always have to find the worst possible thing that could ever happen on a day? Don't you look for the good in anything?
The good is boring. Okay, so it may be
that's why you're a Leafs fan. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, we had 2 games in the NHL last night. Let's start with the one that I was at, which was the Arizona Coyotes and the Buffalo Sabres. The Coyotes win 3-2 in a shootout, handing the Sabres their first loss at home. And my niece, who is a Sabres fan, said, "Please don't go to any more Sabres game. You have bad juju."
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to go to more then. No, but okay. What struck me about this game, Russ, the Sabres jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Then I don't think they sat back. I think Arizona sort of, got with it and started to play really well. And like I said in the pre-show, they won, except for that 3-minute span, they won most of the puck battles along the boards. They won the 50-50 battles to possess the puck, and they got some good chances. And it's bizarre, like these weird goals, like Connor Garland sneaking one in between.
But that's what he does. He's been doing that for a year and a half now.
Yeah, sneaking one in between Carter Hutton's pad and the post, and then he had this shot that went off of Hutton and dropped behind him, and I guess Soderberg got credit for the goal.
He did.
The overtime was nuts.
It was nuts.
And the one thing I have to say is, like, I'll give Ralph Kruger credit. At a couple instances in overtime, he played 3 forwards, which not a lot of coaches have the guts to do.
I mean, Middlestat was hot. What, did he get the crossbar twice?
Yes. Yeah. The first one you could hear from the press box ringing off the pole. The second one was sort of I think it went flat off the pole.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, no, but this is the thing. Carter Hutton is not going to have many games where he's going to make 40-plus saves.
Right.
And they forced him to make 40-plus saves last night. They got a point that maybe they didn't deserve. I don't know whether the Sabres can just score 2 goals and hand it over to their goaltender. And that's sort of what they did yesterday.
Yeah. I don't think it's sustainable, but what I think could happen, and we've seen it in this league, when you get off to the start that they have, if you just play slightly over 500, you're in it for most of the year, if you think about it. And so I think they will be in it for a long time here now. And if they get through another hot streak, then maybe they could stay in it. I don't see it either, but I'll talk about a bigger picture thing that I just talked about on Sirius, with McKern. I had pontificated this late last night, but I'm like, overall, this is not in Buffalo, but this is outside of Buffalo. It just seems like people expect more out of Jack Eichel than what he gives. And like my answer was like last year, he had 82 points. People seem to expect 100. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? It's like the guy is everything you want a player to be, to run your to be the number one guy in your franchise. Everything you want him to be. They have Skinner now, who, and I gave the Batman Robin thing that they do in the NBA, but they've got that going now. Like, I don't know what else Jack Eichel can do. He wants to win. He's all about winning. I think they are moving in the right direction. But as far as just identifying him as a big star in this league, it seems like fans in other markets are unwilling to do that. Although I was asked the question, and you could answer better than me because you were just there, and I haven't been to a game in 6 months there. How many Eichel jerseys are in the crowd?
I mean, a fair amount.
And that's what I said. I think this is a fair amount.
What I was a little surprised at, and I'm not critical of the Sabres fan base, because I think they have a justifiable reason to be skeptical based on last year and the euphoria that happened after the 10-game winning streak. It was a Monday night. There were 2 games in the NHL. I don't know if it was on network, if it was on NHL Network or on NBC.
It was on.
It might have been NHL.
Yeah, I think it was on NHL Network.
Okay. There were maybe, and the building is around 19,000. There were maybe 13,000. I mean, the corners in the 300 level were almost empty.
Okay.
I think that there's still a hesitancy here.
Or is that more about Arizona? Like, they just don't want to see Arizona.
And maybe it's a Monday night too, but there wasn't a World Series game. There wasn't a Monday Night Football game that was consequential. So if it was like, if there was full euphoria there, then there wouldn't have been an empty seat on Monday.
I mean, it was consequential in the sense that we've never seen, and this is, I know this, I don't have to look this up. We have never seen a team in the NFL who had a perfect season and could possibly have a winless season. That would be amazing for the same franchise to do that. And they have a great chance of doing it.
Yeah. Does that mean that at the end of the season, Bob Greasy, I know Nick Monaconti has passed, but does that mean that Bob Greasy will have to drink like Ripple or sewer water or something like that?
I don't know how they're going to rectify that, but I have a feeling the Jets might foul that up, though. Miami might beat the Jets because that's happened before, too. In the Rich Kotite era, that happened.
Now, on the other side, because with the Sabres right now, like I said, I don't think this is sustainable, but I think you're right. If they play 500 hockey, and this is what they said last year.
I think it's a little over. You play a little over 500, they're in it until the trading deadline. I'm pretty sure of that. Right,
and if they get production from their third and fourth line, if they get something from some of their bottom pairing defensemen, I know they used McCabe and Ristolainen a lot last night. They didn't.
They've got a lot of block shots. I just looked that up the other day.
Yeah. Maybe they can stay in it, but it's going to be tough with the Atlantic being, I think, the Atlantic right now is 6 teams deep. Yeah. They have to win those one-on-one battles with Florida and with Montreal because I still think the top 3 is going to be the top 3 that everybody thought it was going to be.
Right. No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Now, flipping
what the Atlantic may do is steal the wild card.
Yes. Flipping on the other side, Darcy Kemper made an incredible save in the second period. I think it was Larson or Gergensons fell on him afterward. He was.
I saw that.
He was slow to get up, but it was an incredible. I wasn't sure if it was the fall or the fact that he stretched like Gumby to make this save. But it was an incredible save, and it was at a key point in the game where it was 2-1, or where the Sabres scored that goal. I think the game would have been basically over with. But what I was impressed with was Schmaltz, Keller, Kessel, Dvorak. That line, Keller, Kessel, Dvorak played pretty well.
Yeah, that was a good line. I mean, Keller looked really dialed in.
Yeah, they have Barrett Hayton playing on the left side with Schmaltz, who's leading the team in scoring. The concern, though, and maybe this is going to be addressed in a couple weeks when some defensemen maybe come on the market. Their bottom pair, they overplayed Goligoski.
Oh yeah,
Chychrun, Ekman Larson and Jason Demers. Their bottom pairing was Aaron Ness and Ilya Lijvukin. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at the stat sheet, but I'd be shocked if they played more than 7 minutes. They went with those 4 defensemen.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. They don't have much of a bottom pair, but they are going to have to do something about it. And you know what it is. I mean, with Yarmulson out, that kills them, right? I mean, that's what really kills them. But yeah, they had a good game. I mean, Hayton's hanging in there. He's got 3 points in 4 games. He's doing really well. I don't know. Like, I just don't know if you should have him up right now, for the whole time. Maybe they'll just give him the 9-game look-see. I'm not sure what the exact plan is for him, but I don't know. I don't know if he's ready for a full season yet. I know because of his size and everything else, he has an NHL body. He's hanging right now. We'll see in another 5 games. If he's hanging then I guess they're going to leave him up. But I wouldn't say it's a guarantee just yet.
I guess the big question with him is, and I know that Bob McKenzie and Drager and LeBrun brought it up last week on TSN Insider Trading, and they always have to take the Hockey Canada aspect of it, is Hayton being available for the World Junior. If he's playing regularly for Arizona, I don't think Chaika's going to.
No, they're not going to let him go if he's playing regularly. But here's the way I look at Hayton. He's kind of a guy who's just about there, right? And so for the regular season, he killed it in the OHL. But then for the playoffs, 16 points in 11 games is very good. But in that league, that's not killing it. And so you have to sort of balance it. I would rather see him get another World Juniors, for his development. But it is what it is. We'll have to see. Like I said, next 5 games will tell the story in that one.
Yeah. Now, the other game was a sort of one-sided affair between the Canucks and the Panthers. Canucks win 7-2.
And this is what I don't like about the Panthers. I don't trust them defensively.
Well, okay, Pettersson and Edler had 3 assists each.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky, he had to have started because 4 goals on 6 shots, and then he was pulled for Samuel Montembeault. So, that's bad. I'm looking at Bobrovsky's stats this year right now. When they're spending $10 million a year on him, I don't think they were expecting 4-2-3, an .870 save percentage, and a 3.79 goals against. I think they were expecting more. But the Panthers' defense is not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. And Michael, I don't know if Matheson is hurt, but he was a scratch yesterday. And I was assuming he's hurt, but because I can't imagine if he's healthy, them scratching him.
Yeah, like I said, I've just never been sold on him. I know they had high hopes for Matheson. He's still only 25. I don't think he's bad, but he's got 1 assist in 9 games. Like, that is not what they expected out of him, because they gave him a fairly good contract too.
Yeah.
Now the last 2 years, he's had 27-point years with, he had some goals, 10 goals, 8 goals. This year he hasn't had a goal yet. But, it's just, if they ever thought he was Duncan Keith, and I'm not sure that was from everybody who thought that, but I've heard that word out, when it be attributed there, he is not even close to that. And so that does hurt him. And Bob's got to have a perfect defense. I will stick to that. And I think that's part of the issue. But yeah, it looks like Matheson was hurt for that game.
Okay. Well, this is strange because according to this, Bobrovsky, Montembeault started.
Right.
He gave up 3 goals in 6 minutes and 18 seconds. They put in Bobrovsky. He gave up 4 goals. Let's see. He gave up. Yeah. Well, that's weird. Okay. I'm just doing this on the Flyers. Oh, okay. So it was 2 goals on 6 shots. So they ended up putting then Bobrovsky let in 2 goals, and then they put Montembeault back in, and he let in the rest.
Yeah.
So, this was apparently his day off, and they were hoping that they could salvage a victory by changing up and putting the goaltender, putting Bobrovsky in, and it didn't work. But
right.
That's. Here's a situation where you need. You're going to overplay Bobrovsky, but we
do that. Montembeault we don't really know what he is yet.
Right, but you need a backup who you can depend on for at least 20 to 25 games.
You do.
And they don't have that. I mean, there was some talk during the like in training camp that they were going to flirt with the idea, and that never happened, of signing Scott Darling to a 1-year contract, to a, basically a league minimum.
He's still out there. So
I mean, maybe that's an option for them, unless people just think he's washed, and or that, he just,
people other than me, you mean?
Yes, there's somebody who took, he took the money, the 4-year, $16 million from Carolina, and took the money and ran. But yeah, no. So I mean, I think Florida is in that mix with Buffalo and Montreal for sort of that wild card race in the Atlantic, because I do think it's going to be one wild card from the Metro and one wild card from the Atlantic. I get the feeling that that's how it's going to end up.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I look at it and I think about it, I bailed on Florida. I did. When they signed Quenneville, I was like, okay, let's see what they do in free agency, and I was like underwhelmed. And then looked at who they could bring up this year, looked at everything and said, boy, I didn't know if that was enough in front of Bob, and I'm still sticking in front with that. I think they're going to come up short. So I think it's going to be between the other two. I think these guys are dangerous, though. Like, they're not going to be, they could beat any team in the league, but I just don't think they could sustain it.
Now, couple things, and then we'll take some questions in the chat. There was a minor trade yesterday between the Detroit Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks. The news had come out that Brendan Perlini had asked for a trade last week. He wasn't getting playing time. And Stan Bowman accommodated him. He trades him to the Detroit Red Wings for a prospect, the former third-round pick in 2018 named Alec Regula, defenseman for the London Knights. He's got over a point per game for London, but, he's a ways away from having an impact in the NHL. Although they seem to the stuff that I heard this morning said that, he's probably going to be an NHLer, but it's a question of how good of an NHLer. Now, Perlini, this is Perlini's third team, Russ. It was a first round pick.
Right.
He didn't work out in Arizona. He looked like he was working out in Chicago last year when he was given an opportunity. He didn't play badly.
No.
But, now he gets moved to Detroit, and there's a situation where, here's a team that's bad, a team that's rebuilding, and he's young and he's big, and maybe he gets an opportunity there.
Maybe. He's kind of a tweener right now.
Yeah.
He's never really found his role. We know he could score goals, but he doesn't score goals at a high level. Mm-hmm. So if you give him a lot of ice time, he'll score 12, 15 goals. The problem is he doing enough of everything else to stay in the lineup? And I guess other teams feel like he's not. Mm-hmm. He's an attractive guy in the sense that he's 23.
Right.
So...
And he's cheap. He's making less than $1 million.
Yeah.
I put this deal sort of in the same category, although I know Yzerman has a lot more knowledge about this guy, and I think his upside is higher. But I put this in the same category as the Adam Ernie deal with Tampa.
Yeah.
In that Ernie's a big body forward. I think he's got talent, but he wasn't going to get the opportunity that he really needed in Tampa to flourish. So he gets traded, I think it was for a draft pick. And now he gets an opportunity in Detroit, and if he plays well, then then he's carving himself a niche with the Red Wings. I think Perlini's got an opportunity here if they give him an opportunity to play and he plays well, that he will, he'll have some success and he'll be able to carve out.
Fair point. I mean, I would have thought Ernie would really have caught on quick with the Red Wings, but he hasn't. Like, no points in 7 games. So. I don't know who they're putting him on a line with. I'll have to watch and see.
Yeah, I think he's on a third or fourth line. I'm pretty sure.
On that team, a third and fourth line, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, he could be playing with like Jakob de la Rose or somebody like that. Yeah. So
that's, even for Perlini, he would almost be the star of that third or fourth line. You know what I mean? So,
the thing is, they may actually give him top 6 time, because I think Abdelkader is hurt.
Okay,
and guys like Helm and Glenn Denning are not top 6 guys. Maybe they want to see whether Perlini can be that with an opportunity.
I mean, is there anybody who's really worse than them though in this league? I don't think so.
No. And I'll tell you right now, I look at Detroit. I look how bad they are. This team, I mean, if it's not them, it's Ottawa. The last place team in this league is going to come out of the Atlantic Division.
Right.
I mean, they are truly pitiful. They have a couple good young players, but I heard some commentary this morning regarding them sending Erickson down to Grand Rapids, whether that's just sort of like to get him back into shape so he can come back and maybe be traded by the deadline. But the thing is, he's a $4 million defenseman who's slow, who's old, and who's injury prone. Is there really a market for him, even if they eat 50% of the salary?
I mean, there could be. They know it slows a little bit in the playoffs, and he might be able to play enough, 7 minutes that they feel is safe enough where he has playoff experience.
Right.
They might be able to squeeze something out of that. I just looked it up. Rasmussen's got 7 points in 6 games with the Griffins, so that part's good. If he puts together a good season there, then maybe he'll be getting over the hump.
Yeah, and Sider's down there, and Veleno's down there, and
yeah, I mean Veleno, I think by next year will be up. I would be very, very surprised if he isn't. And
Zadina's down there too, and I don't know if he's doing anything great down there.
Zadina's got 3 points in 8 games, not great. They have Dylan McElrath on that team. That's something else to talk about. Ryan Kuffner, who I like, has 3 goals in 6 games. That's pretty good. I still like Max Verano from his teammate better, but I do like Kuffner, and the fact that he has 3 goals in 6 games is pretty good. That bodes well for him. Mm-hmm. Actually, he's one of their top goal guys right now. And there was who else were we going to look up? Oh, Sider has 2 points in 8 games, and he is a +3. So
yeah,
that's good. I mean, I think this is all good for those guys. Shield them from a bad season. Let them have a good season. They may all come up together.
Yeah, and then what Yzerman has to do is work on, it'll be Erickson, it'll be Trevor Daley, it'll be Mike Green. They all get moved before the deadline if they're healthy. They're all
Svechnikov is over a point a game there, so maybe he's going to get over the hump. He's still only 22. If he gets over the hump, I mean, they literally could be the next Buffalo Sabres in the sense that when after the lockout, when they brought up all the Rochester guys, they may be able to do something similar. Well, Don, will the coach be the same? I don't think so.
Well, I think they're going to.
I think they'll end up changing coaches.
I don't think they're going to call these guys up until
next year. I mean,
next year. Yeah, no, and I think that right now, Yzerman is in the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes, and
right.
Stupid if he didn't do that because this draft is supposedly very good. We haven't even. Yeah, so. That's going to definitely be a factor. And if they can get multiple first-round picks, if they can trade somebody and get a high pick or just get like a number of seconds or thirds or whatever in deals, that's the pathway to turning this around. Now, the big news of the morning was the signing of Roman Yossi. Now, this was hinted at, and I actually wrote about this last week in a column that I do for another site. Where we were talking about Yossi and the Nashville negotiating back and forth and how Nashville wasn't at the point where they were willing to make Yossi the 3rd highest paid defenseman in the league. And I basically said nonsense because they traded Subban.
Right.
Cleared the $9 million for the specific purpose of re-signing Yossi. Right. I know that they spent $8 million to sign Matt Duchene, and eventually they're probably going to have to move somebody else out down the road. But right now, I think it was pretty much the Subban trade, and they took nothing back in that deal. Was pure and simple. The next 2 years at $9 million, they knew they were going to have to pay Yossi that, so they cleared out Subban. And the guy has scored close to 60 points 5 years in a row. He's a Norris Trophy caliber defenseman. I guess the one thing that people were shocked about was that David Poile actually gave somebody a no movement clause in this deal.
Well, I mean, I looked up Duchene. Duchene, he's more than a point a game, so he's certainly earning his money.
Yep.
The way I look at it is we both said he was going to get paid, and he did not give them a discount. If you want to say they saved something, maybe they saved about $500,000 a year because of the tax situation. Because maybe in another market, he'd get 9.5, right? But that's it. That's all they saved on him. That's a lot of money. The $9 million is it's a sizable sum for the next 8 years, right?
Right.
So that's he deserves that. But this will have ramifications down the road for Nashville. The good part is that Dante Fabro is a stud. So that really does help balancing that when you have a kid like that. And that's where the scouting staff there gets tremendous credit. That's why I always mention Jeff Keelty's name. He should pay me $1 every time I mention his name. I've always said that. But it really does keep them going, because when you have a $9 million guy and a $925,000 guy performing, then you could, put together a blue line and not get capped out.
Yeah, and right now they have, if you look towards next year, Yossi making 9.059, which is his number. So I sort of hate that.
I know.
Yeah, it's just it's lame, but okay, whatever. So he's making a little over $9 million. Ryan Ellis is extended. I think he has 7 more years at 6.25, which, based on some other contracts, looks pretty good right now.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah, Matthias Ekholm for.
By the way, it looks good to the point where I didn't realize he has 13 points. He's tied for the team lead.
Yeah, and yeah, he's a very good offensive defender.
Yeah, and we knew that though.
Matthias Ekholm was more a stay-at-home type, but is still pretty good defenseman overall. $3.75 million for 2 more years. Then he's a UFA. And then Fabro has got this year and next year on his entry-level contract. So they've got a top 4 there. And the only one that's really being dramatically overpaid next year, and I'm not saying overpaid because he's one of the best defensemen in the league, but is getting paid at a high level, is Yossi. The rest of them are fairly reasonable, and they lose Granlund's $5.75 million contract at the end of this year. That might be where they try to open up space, because I don't think they can give away Kyle Turris for anything.
No, and I'll tell you, I expect them to sign David Ferentz when the season ends this year for BU. He's at 7 points in 5 games. He has been steadily getting better every year. I've talked about him on this show. I've written about him, and that's their next really good defensive prospect. So another really good puck-moving guy who could score. So they're lucky they know how to draft on defense, because that's what's making all this work, because they've had to spend more on offensive players. That's where they've been lacking a little bit in the draft. Mm-hmm. Or, they've had Forsberg, but they haven't been able to put together a team of drafted offensive players. So they've had to dip into that center market, but they've done fairly well with that too.
We'll take some questions in the chat after we discuss this. I was interested and read a little bit of an article from Mark Lazarus in The Athletic, and it was about a scheduling idea that Jonathan Taves had. Okay. And if you think about it, it makes a little bit of sense. I don't know if it would be considered a bridge too far for the league. And scheduling, we know for a team, especially like a team like Chicago in the division like the Central, where they have St. Louis who's close, but then they're going to have Arizona next year or the year after when Seattle comes in the league, because they're moving into the Central. Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg. There's a lot of travel in the Central. I don't think as much as the Pacific, but it's sizable. And Taves' idea, and I'll just boil it down, was essentially a baseball-like schedule.
Right.
If you're playing Winnipeg, you do like what AHL teams are doing. Like the Marlies play the Manitoba Moose. They play them 2 games. Sometimes, I think those are the only 2 games they play Manitoba all year. So they, for money and travel purposes, and simply wear and tear on people's bodies, they play Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. And maybe you spread it out over more days. You do it Saturday and Monday or Saturday and Tuesday, and then you're in Winnipeg for 3 or 4 days. But the whole thing is to cut down on the fact that later on in the year you have to go back to Winnipeg.
Right.
So in say the Atlantic, that means Boston playing Buffalo twice in a row. Mm-hmm. Toronto playing Boston. Now you can say, well, that's going to suck if you're playing Boston early in the year, the 2 times. Well, that's the way it's like in baseball. The Red Sox. It's different in the sense that they, like the AL East, they play each other 19 times. So there's three series in New York, 3 series in Boston. it's broken up that way. But we're not talking as many games. We're talking half the amount of games, and it's 2 in Boston, 2 in Toronto if it's the Bruins and the Leafs. I think it makes a little bit of sense. I don't know if the NHL will even address it, but I think it's a good idea in a way to cut down on travel and cut down on that physical wear and tear the players are going through.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm not against it. I like it. I just think the NHL probably won't like it because then it will cut down on like Game Center, like how many games in each day. Because when you do that, then because other than Halloween, they have pretty good action spread every week. And I kind of wonder if that's what they'll look at, and because they'll lose out on some of that. Because if you're staying the whole weekend somewhere to play those games, then you're not going to play on that Monday or that Tuesday, where Tuesday is like a big night. You know what I mean? You got to make it up somewhere. Here's what I wonder, though. I have a bigger question. Mm-hmm. And I know the guy who's the voice now of the Peoria Rivermen, Andrew Mossbrook. He was with the Flyers last year as a I used to do like a little. He did this Flyers 24/7 radio show. I did it with him, and he did some other things for them and the Wings. But the point is, they already played a game. They're done. They played at like 10 a.m. this morning.
Really?
Yes. So is that just the ECHL just saying, all right, look, whoever shows up. We're just going to have these midweek games? Was it?
I mean, because I know the Marlies play 11 o'clock games for kids, like school kids. They have the school kids special. Was it something like that?
I didn't see anything posted that it was.
Yeah, I mean, it might be that they, it's basically a field trip that they arrange a game. They sell like a block of tickets that they'll have a couple thousand kids, Toronto area kids, and they play an 11 o'clock game at Coca-Cola Coliseum. They do that once or twice a year. So, I mean, it's possible they did that, but I mean, are you going to like mimic the NFL and have games like on the weekend? I mean, I don't mind afternoon games on the weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, you could break things up that way, but.
No, but I wonder like about this game. Like, I did think this was weird, and I don't get a sense that it was a kids game. I wonder if they do this in the ECHL. Do they have?
Maybe. I mean, it's a way of it's like the getaway game in baseball. If they're playing multiple games and they played, say, Friday night, they could play a Sunday afternoon and get back on the road on Sunday.
That's a good point. All right, I'm looking up a team now just to see. Yeah, I mean, November 6th, the Toledo Walleye will play a 10:30 in the morning game.
Okay, so they're getting it out of the way so they can get on the road.
December 4th, they're playing a 10:35 game.
Okay.
So this is the thing with the ECHL. Interesting.
Okay, we'll take some questions here before the show. Joe Morello asks, Mike, can we talk about the hottest team in hockey, the Islanders? No, we can't.
No, we could talk about them. I when I watched them recently, I mentioned it yesterday. They did a really good job of not letting the other team get past the blue line to get anything going in the offensive zone. They do have big defensemen that can do that, and they do still have enough puck moving that can do that. They're still lacking scoring from the blue line, but I guess if they're going to really be able to keep this deficit down again and, like Lou said, keep the differential at a good, number, and like, let's say they end up +5 for the year or something, then they're capable of doing what they did last year. This is all on Barry Trotz. Like, if he does it, he's the greatest coach in hockey. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, and we've seen him do this before. I'll question it, but right now I'm looking up. Varlamov is 4-2 with a .918 save percentage. Thomas Greiss is 4-1 with a .931 save.
And he was the one that really propelled this whole winning streak. But Varlamov played well enough the other day, and so they're capable. They just don't have a lot of goal scoring. But whatever. I mean,
if they
I was surprised to see Pulick only had that was his first goal of the year the other night. Like that's a guy to me that could score 15, 20 goals. But
this isn't a situation where it's balanced scoring. This is a situation where it's lack of scoring. Right now, their top 3 scorers are Brock Nelson, who doesn't even have a point per game. He's got 10 points in 11 games. Barzal at 9, Bailey at 9, Devin Taves at 8, and then Johnny Boychuk is 5th on the team with 6 points.
But they're winning games.
They're winning games. I mean, they're winning games, but how long can you do that? Now, maybe you can if you're playing Barry Trotz hockey and you're suffocating others.
If there was a different coach there, I'd say it's totally unsustainable. But because it's Trotz, I got to give him a chance.
Okay, Vespis says Nashville does have some high cap terms on their middle tier players. I don't consider Ryan Johansson a middle tier player.
No, he's not. He's not middle.
First or second line center, but Sissons was the one that they signed to that ridiculous long-term deal, wasn't it?
But it's a cheap long-term deal.
But yeah, right. It's 2.87 for seven.
Yeah, it's like a lottery payoff if you win the big scratch off.
I mean, believe me, Poyle's not going to have a problem with Johansson at 8, Duchesne at 8, and Forsberg at 6. The big one is Turris, $6 million for 4 more years.
Although the cap keeps going up, that'll be a third line number soon.
Right, but he's playing 4th line. That's the problem.
I know, but it doesn't mean he'll be playing that forever. I mean,
yeah.
I'm hoping Kyle Turris, starts to rebound. They're not that much trouble, but it could be an issue.
They're fortunate that they got Arvidsson signed at 4.25 for 4 more years.
Yeah.
Granlund and Craig Smith. Now, Craig Smith is an RFA, but between Granlund and Craig Smith, that's $10 million in salary.
Well, how old is Craig Smith at this point?
I think he's like 29, but
he's getting to the point where they may have to, even though he provides leadership and does score goals, at some point they may have to divest of him.
Yeah, I'm just checking here. Craig Smith. I think this is the Craig Smith because he's the only one born in. There you go. He is 30 years old, so I was pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, this is Yossi's team, but I feel like offensively it's Duchesne's team. I may be wrong about that, but that's the way I feel.
Okay, let's.
So you feel like that's the direction they're in?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think they've locked up their core now. But I think there's still some tinkering to do. If they could find somebody to take Turris off of their hands, they'd
be in great shape.
They'd be overjoyed. Okay, Hunter Dietz asks, "Hey guys, what power play specialists do you think might be available for trade at the deadline or over the summer?" Well, okay,
David Savard. We'll start there.
Okay, Mike Green.
Mike Green, definitely.
He's a little long in the tooth, but he's still somebody I think could play on the power play. And I think the key here is to look at, and I'll just look at the standings currently.
Well, who's the Chicago guy? I can't think of his name right at the moment.
Oh, Gustafson.
Yeah, Gustafson will be another one.
But do you think that they would want to trade him though?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Do they really think that that's a long-term solution? I don't think so. I
mean. Now, Minnesota re-signed Spurgeon, so they're not trading him. Brodin is more of a defensive defenseman. I don't expect Dallas to continue struggling like that. So if you're looking for teams that are struggling and who okay, I'll give you Sam. I don't know if we consider him a power play guy, but Sami Vatanen is an offensive defenseman.
Well, here's the thing. It depends the team they're on because I looked up Savard, right? And he doesn't get much power play anymore, but that's in the Torts era. He used to. Right. So, he's still a guy that's capable of it. He's not a specialist, no. I mean, there's very few, specialists. That's why a guy like Gustafson, if he hit the market, would be a big deal. I do think because of Adam Boquist that you don't need Gustafson.
Right.
Down the line.
A guy, and we don't know what they're going to do later in the season, but a guy like Gostisbehere, if he continues to struggle in Philadelphia under Vigneault, maybe he's a guy. I don't think the Sabres are going to trade Montour. I still think if they're going to trade somebody, it seems like less and less the possibility of them trading Ristolainen because he's actually playing better.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good against the Coyotes. I noticed him a lot.
Yeah, he was a little rough and tumble with a couple. Him and Lawson Krause exchanged some howitzers.
Krause is always going to do that.
Oh boy, he's a mean player. And you know what? Any concerns of Chychrun not getting his speed back?
No, it's there. I saw it.
His speed is back.
I had concerns a couple of years ago, but last year he looked like he was fine.
He's a big, tough kid.
Yeah.
Okay, Funky Cold Zadina says, do you guys see Braden Holtby signing with Carolina as a UFA July 1st?
No, because Carolina's not going to pay him $7 or $8 million.
No.
No.
Carolina, I mean, what have they done with goaltending the last couple of years? They've gone on the cheap. They
Right.
spent $4 million a year on Scott Darling. That was before. That was with Francis as the GM. When Dundon came in, when their GM, the veteran GM, I'm drawing a blank. USA Hockey, Carolina's GM.
Oh yeah. Well, you mean
Don Waddell.
Waddell? Sorry, yeah.
Waddell would
help
come in. It was goaltending on the cheap. It was Mrazek and it was McElhaney.
Right.
Now Mrazek and Reimer. Reimer's not cheap. He's 3.4, and he's got more term than just this year. I think he's got another year or two. So I don't see them going in. I think Alex Nedeljkovic gets a chance to be the number one, or at least play significant games with Carolina before they go out. Because remember, Holtby has won a Stanley Cup. He may win a second one this year if the Caps win. If he does that, even though he's in his 30s, he's going to get $7 or $8 million a year.
He'll get 7 or 8 from either
Colorado,
Edmonton.
Yeah. He's a Western. I think he's a Western Canadian kid. So, you know, I mean, they'd have to get rid of Koskinen, or maybe it's Calgary because they only made a commitment 1 year for Cam Talbot. I know that Rittich is getting more of the work this year. Esmir asks, the Rangers look really stupid buying out Shattenkirk. Now he's playing a lot better with Tampa. I mean, Russ, we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this was a guarantee to happen. I didn't support the move, if you remember. Was he playing great for the Rangers? No. They needed the money more than they needed the player. So that was their thing.
Right.
They had dead cap money next year as a result, but that's what they wanted to do. I was not in favor of this. I wouldn't have done it. They did it. So we knew that Tampa got a bonus on that. There was no way around it. But it's not like they're the only team that's ever benefited from a guy who could still play, but team had to get rid of him because they just, had to get cap room. So
and Shattenkirk will benefit from this if they make a long run and he keeps playing the way he's playing right now. Now they may not be able to re-sign him to what he could get in the open market.
Right.
But Shattenkirk will he'll get another big contract because he had this year and he still shows he's effective. Now he's not a well-rounded defenseman. He's an offensive guy. He's that, Tampa's not going to fall out, so they're not going to trade him as a power play specialist, but he's a power play specialist in free agency next year.
What I can envision for Kevin Shattenkirk is if he gets a big contract, there won't be any no trade, no anything. Right. And he'll be one of those guys that if Seattle wants him, a team will be willing to, let that big contract go.
Right.
So they get him for a year, you know what I mean? To see if they can make a playoffs, that kind of thing.
And Chestnut asks, do you see the Blues making a big trade with Tarasenko out 5 months? Well, I said yesterday, I don't think so. I think because they won the cup, they're playing with house money. So I don't think that they're going to.
Not right now. They won't.
Right. If they're in the playoff race in February,
and they will, because they've always been aggressive.
Right. And the thing is, the Tarasenko might be back by the playoffs, but I don't see them rushing him back. So,
I mean, what's the status of Robbie Fabry these days?
I don't know what his stats are. I mean, I
know, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, he's not injured. At least I don't think.
No, he's only got a goal in 9 games, though. That's it. So maybe he's not getting much ice time. All right, he's only getting 9, 12 minutes. Maybe that improves for him, and he starts scoring.
Right.
Because I didn't think he was hurt, but he's just not doing anything.
Right. Let's see here. If you're a GM and you think keeping Smith and Stahl over Shattenkirk, that looks bad. Yes. Let's see here. A couple more questions. Let's see here. Mike and Russ. Joe Morello says, Mike and Russ, do you guys still think the Rangers will finish ahead of the Islanders?
It's a long season, man. I don't know what to think. The Rangers look terrible right now, so I get why you're asking the question, but does the possibility still exist? Sure. I mean, they have good goaltending in New York, but right now with Lindy Ruff running their defense, I'll say no. If that changes, I think they could tighten things up.
I had the Rangers on the bubble and the Islanders not making the playoffs. It's 10 games in. I'm sticking with it. I don't think the Islanders. No. Now, can Barry Trotz do his magic and get this team? Yes, of course he can. But I don't think.
Here's some more commentary though. I don't think John Davidson's going to stand for this much longer with the Rangers. That's my commentary. Yeah. Even though he's not the GM, I think he's going to go into Gorton's office and say, hey, look, we got to do something here.
Okay. Bill C asks, any thoughts on the situation in LA with
Horkin, yeah.
Yeah, started the year in the AHL, called up after a few games, then a healthy scratch for several games before getting into a game with LA. When I saw that, I thought, does he have now he's not a rookie, but does he have a European assignment clause? Because some of these players, if they get sent to the American Hockey League, there's a deadline. I know Nikita Shoshnikov with the Leafs had the thing where if he wasn't called up by a certain date,
then he could leave.
He could go back to the KHL. Maybe that was the situation with Prohorkin. So yeah, so I think that was the situation. Let's see here, one more. If we got it. Okay, we'll go down this road. Steve James, Mike and Russ, do you think Babcock's time is up in Toronto? In my opinion, he should get until the end of November to see where they're at. Keefe and the Marlies unbeaten in the first 8. Okay. It doesn't matter what Keefe is doing with the Marlies. First of all, he's got an almost NHL team with the Marlies. Now, I'm not slagging Sheldon Keefe's quality as a coach because he won a Calder Cup, and I think
the coach.
I think he's a very good coach, and I think he will be the heir apparent for Babcock. Question is, when will that happen? And I've said this a few times, unless they lose like 10 games in a row, they're not firing Babcock. Babcock gets the year.
He's already gotten past Canadian Thanksgiving. Nobody ever says somebody will get fired by Canadian Thanksgiving.
No, that would be too soon. That's 3 games. That happened to Denny Savard. It didn't happen to anybody.
I mean, there's not many that don't survive before Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that he's going to get the year.
No, he'll get the year.
And the thing is, even if this year is a disaster, the one thing that Kyle Dubas did very intelligently, as opposed to another general manager in the past, is that when he traded the first-round pick to get Patrick Marleau's contract off the books, he made it conditional. So they have the option to keep the pick for next year. If they finish out of the playoffs and finish in the lottery, they won't lose that pick.
Right.
The pick will move to 2021. And I don't think that this team is going to be bad 2 years in a row. I don't think they're going to be bad this year. I think they've just gotten off to a slow start, and they're missing a number of players. They're getting Dermott back tonight against the Capitals. We'll just talk about the games quickly here.
Right.
Just checking to see if there's any more questions. Crunky Cold Zadina is do you see Justin Williams joining Carolina? I think he's done.
No.
I think he's done.
And I don't think he's done because he necessarily was just 100% done with hockey. I just don't think he got an offer that he felt like was good.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what he was offered. We don't know for sure, but I'm just saying.
Joe Morello again. Tyson Berry is -9, 0 points in his last 10 games. No sandpaper on Toronto, missing Kadri. No sandpaper, I agree. Missing Kadri, no. I think Alex Kerfoot has been just as good as Kadri.
Been really good, yeah.
So they miss the fact that with Tavares out, that their third line center, right now they're playing Freddie Gauthier sometimes at third line center, or Spezza.
Just remember, we're only 10 games in. Kadri hasn't punched anybody in the mouth yet.
Yeah.
But it's bound to happen.
Yeah, wait until the first week of April at the most inopportune time, then it'll happen. And this is the question that was asked to Babcock.
And by the way, and Barry's a rental. Like, we all know that. So whatever they get out of Barry, it's better than what they had sitting in Toronto anyhow.
Right. He's better than Jake Gardner. I'm sorry, folks. He's better than Jake Gardner. Now, one thing, and Barry's not played well recently.
Jake Gardner has more points, Mike.
I don't care. He's a better defenseman than Jake Gardner. But this is
actually, wait, I don't mean to derail you, but I do think it's kind of an interesting point that we don't hear about Jake Gardner at all anymore.
Right, because he's in Carolina. Who cares?
He has 3 points, but he's happy.
Right. He's on the bottom pairing.
I know. No, I just think it's an amazing thing. I do.
Yeah, he's either on the second or the bottom pairing in Carolina. And they have Dougie Hamilton. They have Slavin. They have Pesci.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's happier than a pig in crap because he can sort of blend into the woodwork and play his game, and it's all fine and good. And he's getting his money. I'm happy for him. But I'm also happy that Leaf fans don't have to watch him anymore. Now, Barry, this is the thing. One of his biggest assets was him as a point guy in the power play. The
Mhm.
power play has been terrible since Tavares went out. Barry is a better point shot than Morgan Riley. That's that has always been that's the only. I mean, I think Riley's a really good defenseman, but he doesn't have a big shot from the point. And teams you see sort of sag back on the penalty kill to cut off Marner and Matthews on the half boards.
Yeah,
and let Riley shoot. And I thought they were going to put Barry on the top power play. Babcock came out yesterday and said, Morgan Riley's one of the best defensemen in the league. He was a 70-point guy. So he's defending his guy. But are you telling me that Barry on the power play for a year, who I think he's a better power play point guy, would make that much of a difference to Morgan Riley? I don't think it would. And I think it's better for the team, but I think they have to get Barry sort of shaken loose here. And
it's a rough stretch for him. It's a change for him. It's a different kind of coach asking more of him in a two-way situation. It's different for him. Give him a chance.
Yeah. All right. Games tonight. Jets, Ducks, Wild, and Dallas. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
I think Devin Dubnyk is back for the Wild from his concussion protocol. So that could help him.
Yes. Blackhawks in Nashville. Oilers at the Red Wings. So the Oilers get a nice respite in their schedule after getting trounced by Florida, so they can go to Detroit and get an easy victory.
Let me ask you this question. So this is a game now where the Blackhawks have to beat Nashville for me to believe they're not what I think they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Right now they're 3-5-2 and they're struggling.
Yeah.
Lightning and the Rangers. Saw
That's
some
a tough game for the Rangers right now with as bad as things are going for them.
They're not retiring Girardi's number. They're just honoring him or something.
I think they're just honoring him, but they're going to re-retire Brad Parks because I don't need to go through the whole thing with him. But
yes.
But I'm not sure it's this year. I think it's next year they're doing Park.
Okay. Flames and Hurricanes. Last two games are Sharks and Bruins. That should be interesting because San Jose has struggled and the Bruins are 8-1-2 right now. They're if not for the Islanders, they're the hottest team in the league. The two games that are going to be of particular interest to us, the Flyers and the Penguins. Brian Elliott starts in goal again, and apparently Flyers fans are not too pleased.
I mean, I don't know what else they were expecting. Again, Vigneault doesn't care that Carter Hart is the goaltender of the future. The goaltender of the right now that he is looking at right now is Elliott because he's playing better. So they're going to split time. They are officially a tandem until Hart can wrestle away more playing time. So expect to see more Elliott.
Yeah. And the other game and the last game, Capitals, Leafs, that's the one that starts at 7:00. As I said, Travis Dermott comes back. The Leafs will have a little lightened up schedule now after 14 games, and this is the last game in October. 14 games in the month. They're 6-5-2, and the Capitals beat them 4-3 earlier in the month with Hutchinson a goal. Anderson starts tonight, and
Ovi has already started trash talking. So.
And Ovechkin is already trolling in the Toronto media saying, that the Leaf players are playing for them. If they want to win the Stanley Cup, they should stop playing for themselves. I didn't know that Alex Ovechkin was the seer, soothsayer, and general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So thank you, Alex. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember.